Hello YouTube! So, I don't even know how to do this anymore. I have been wanting to update my YouTube channel for a little bit. I know that many of you guys started following me when I was like doing the whole beauty guru stuff. That was like 2011. It was quite some time ago. And many of you guys have seen me develop into the person that I am today, as in having a career and making the transition into the mortgage world, from hospitality and nightlife, and then eventually transitioning into a loan processor. From loan processing, I went into loan signings as a notary public, eventually became a loan officer in 2018, got my real estate license in 2018, and was doing loans from 2018 into 2020, where at the end of 2020, I was like, I gotta pivot. I've got to do something I'm actually gonna be excited to do. And so I made the shift and the transition. And so since then, I've been doing real estate and selling real estate, helping people buy, sell, invest, all of that. And then as of literally this year, on February 4th, I took my broker's exam in California and I passed on the first try. So I kind of just wanted to share, the update, as well as give some advice to anyone who might be looking to get their broker's license. I did look on YouTube, my bread and butter back in the day. And I didn't see many people in California talking about their experience getting their broker's license, like what to study, as well as what that experience looked like. And additionally, I am making a transition, so I am not going to be a broker quite yet. I'm going to be a broker's associate. I am not audacious enough to say that I know everything, and right now I am looking for a higher level of mentorship because I don't really need the basics. I kind of just wanted to focus on production as well as just seeing what my other options are. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going on right now. I really hope this is in focus. Like, if I lean forward too much or I go back too much, it just like blurs all together. This is literally my original Canon T3i that I invested into, and I take a lot of my pictures on it still, so it's just been that girl. Okay, so let's start with the reason why I decided to even go for my broker's exam and get my broker's license, because that was basically because of a really bad transaction I'd had in 2023, I believe, December of 2023. And unfortunately, it was with an agent that was actually on a previous team of mine. There was a kind of level of trust that I had with sending my clients over to this open house that she had been hosting. And rather unfortunately, let's just like make a long story short, there was a lot of misrepresentation on the property. There was a lot of things that the seller was not disclosing. He had said that he had, kept the property in pristine condition and it was just, really well maintained. Once you actually looked at the property and had a home inspection done, which is something that I've always recommended for my clients to do, whether you waive inspection or not. There were 2 gas leaks, active gas leaks. SDG&E had to go out. I was the one that met them to have them shut it off. In addition to saying that there were solar panels when there were not solar panels, because the seller decided to remove those and then wanted the buyer to assume a new contract with a solar company. So not only that, they had to replace the roof. The roof was in poor condition, and so you basically had to finance that into said new contract. There were other things that they were saying, that there was a Tesla panel that was there. It was not there. That would actually be coming with the agreed upon contract with the solar company, which again, if you're misrepresenting the property, saying that there's all of these amazing things, if you sign up for it, I mean, yeah, you can have a spiral staircase in that home if you sign on to financing that. Unfortunately, because we were under the same broker and the same brokerage umbrella, they did not take an assertive role in the situation. I had come from Compass, and Compass had been very, very by the book. There's a right agent and there's a wrong agent, and typically there's some kind of mediation to try to get it to be just, nipped in the bud early on. Unfortunately, due to politics and back and forth with favorites and all of this stuff, it was just not handled the way it should have been. And my clients, who were very analytical types, they were both engineers, and again, they were ripping apart this house, you know what I mean? So it's like, they knew what was up. It was just fact for fact. The agent as well as the seller were misrepresenting the property, and instead of my broker really coming in and being like, hey, this is where you guys messed up, we're actually going to give them back their appraisal as well as their home inspection costs. I mean, again, had we known all of this, we would not have even offered on this property. It was just not worth it. It just ended up being dragged out for weeks, and it should not have been. I ended up winning back all of the funds for my clients, and that's actually a little bit rare. Typically, it's a buyer's due diligence to go and do all of those investigations and inspections on their own and incur those costs. However, given such the unique circumstances of that event, I was able to accomplish that. And because of how my broker chose to handle that situation, that was the motivating factor for me to go and get my broker's license, because I knew right from wrong. I knew that I could have handled that a lot more professionally and a lot more assertively. And so that was kind of the inspo behind where I am today. So not only is she a licensed loan officer, a real estate salesperson, but also I have my broker's license now. I wanted to share with you guys some of the tips and tricks I did to be successful on my broker's exam. So obviously state by state, I just want to do a quick disclaimer. It's different, right? So California, I believe, has both the federal and state tests combined into one. There's 200 questions, you have 4 hours, and they have different requirements as a state to become a broker. So that is the first, disclaimer. Or recently, I do believe the DRE increased their requirements to be a broker. I believe that was in 2024. So really great timing for me to be doing all of this. However, I think it's incredibly important that brokers have a breadth of knowledge and understanding of real estate as a whole. And so I think that's incredibly beneficial to pretty much everyone in California that's looking to buy or sell. So I will also say right now that it is not my intention to start my own brokerage right this second. I may in the future want to do that, but really it comes down to, for me, just education, knowledge. And it is a little bit of a flex to say, hey, I have this much experience, I have taken this amount of college courses, and my career essentially up until this point, I've been able to be successful enough to work full-time in real estate and to basically have, the designation. But there was just a lot to encompass within, 200 questions. Some of them I did go back to, but not many, to be honest. I was just working my way through. By 100 questions, I was exhausted. I was so tired. I was literally just like, my mind was just going a mile a minute, and I had not really taken an exam like this for a while. I think the most recent one had been my NMLS. And so it was challenging. You have to get at least 75% correct. That's like the NMLS as well. And for your salesperson, it only has to be 70%. So that is the difference. Obviously the length of it as well. But when I walked out of there, I was like, oh my God, did I pass? Like, it wasn't one of those moments where I felt very like, oh yeah, that was easy. I totally got it. I kept kind of thinking about things and second guessing certain scenarios. Some of the questions revolved around depositing funds, not commingling buyers and buyer agency. A lot of it is ethical, and a lot of it that, I could see, it's not necessarily like, right away, but I was able to narrow a lot of my questions and answers down to like A or C. And I would kind of go back and forth, and I would think about them and think about, okay, so ethically or in a court of law, like really what would be the most accurate? Questions about mediation and arbitration, escrow, title, it's just all encompassing. And so I will say that there was a lot, for me, the lending questions were a lot easier. Spend a significant portion of your time learning lending. I think, if anything, that is the biggest tip I can give to any agent that's new or anyone who's aspiring to become a broker. Now, it's interesting because I do have a friend who's been a broker for about a year, and he has about 4 agents underneath him. And he's operating without providing workers' compensation, which is like illegal. In a climate where post-NAR settlement, I just feel like, for me personally, going out on my own and taking on all those overhead costs and managing a broker or a brokerage is just not ideal. I feel like for me personally, it's just really about education and knowledge and withdrawal versus, really just having people basically lean on you. And if they end up in trouble in any way, their liability is your liability. You absorb everything that your agents are underneath you. And unfortunately, there is also the fact that a lot of agents will move on and they will go and do their own thing. And so a lot of the time, energy, and effort that you put into these people will just float away, and they may become your competition. So all that being said, again, for me personally, I am very happy with just doing the broker associate route. If you're in the right place, you can focus on scaling your business, but not necessarily taking on excess liability. And liability is definitely something that is covered on the exam as well. So let's see, what else? Any other tips I would say for brokers while studying? Prep agent was key for really refreshing myself with a lot of the older real estate concepts I had forgotten. That was very helpful. I really, really loved it. And I was just listening to it in the car, listening to it in the shower. Anytime I just had some free moments, I was just listening to it. If I was burnt out on reading, then I was listening. Flashcards. I hadn't used flashcards in so long. Incredibly helpful and really helps me retain the knowledge. I also had recruited my mom in helping me go through some of the quizzes and the exams, and I suggest that you take these exams prior to going into the actual exam. She would read off the questions and then I would answer them, and then luckily in the practice exam that I had, or practice exams, there would be reasons why it was correct. It wasn't just the correct answer, it was literally the reasoning behind it. So that was key. If you guys want a copy of that PDF, just email me. I'm happy to send it over to you. It's just really taking time and repetition. And it's one thing to just be okay, I'm gonna study, but then you study once every few weeks or something like that. You cannot do that. You have to be literally committing a chunk of time every single day. That is what I was doing. And again, multiple times a day. That was more ideal. Anytime I was heading off to showings, I was listening to literally Prep Agent. So, and then there were some other videos on YouTube that were also very useful. And, when I was working out in the gym, listening to this stuff. So I know this sounds very obvious, but again, these are the reasons why I think I was able to pass my salesperson on the first try, as well as my broker's exam on the first try without a crash course. I didn't use a crash course for either. I guess I just have a lot of discipline from having gone to school and was used to AP courses as well as college courses. Again, you don't get your bachelor's degree by being lazy. So if anything, hopefully this is helpful to you guys. I'm here for any and all questions, and if you're looking to buy or sell in San Diego, you know who to call. And if you're looking to refer any business in San Diego or the Riverside County areas, I am your girl. And again, I am always happy to help, and let me know if you guys have any other questions.